BJ from Morgan Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Helaina Cappel. I want to talk about Burn Island Games and their Kickstarter that's just blown up. It's in the Hall of the
Woo!
Mountain King. In the Hall of the Mountain King. Tell me, how did you guys find this game?
So actually, it's an interesting story. We go every year to the Gathering of Friends in Niagara Falls. I don't know if you.
Je suis jaloux. Je suis jaloux.
Um, yeah, I was too until we started going. It's very exciting. Anyway, and we go there every year with some of our Canadian friends, and we spend a lot of time with them. To make a long story short, I saw another publisher playing this game, and I was intrigued, and it turned out to be my friend Jay Cormier. It turned out to be his game that he designed with Graham Johns. And I said to him, I want to play it. We don't have much time. He had to leave, so he left it and had Sen Fung Lim, who is his Bamboozle Brothers partner,
Sure.
Teach it to me. And I sat down, and after 5 minutes, I was like, I'm not giving this game back to that other publishing company. I'm leaving with it. And I left with it. And a week later, we signed it because I just was absolutely, absolutely blown away by the design of this game. It just,
Wow.
because it had so many familiar mechanisms, and at the same time seemed like a completely different game. Like, I've played engine building games, and I've played territory games, and nothing
Tile
had
laying
felt,
games.
yeah, tile laying games, and nothing had felt the way this game did to me. And as we worked with them, the designers did most of the work on the game from when we signed it to now. But we did a lot of development ourselves. And as we developed the game together, it just sort of became this even bigger and better, larger than life, beautiful, we're calling it cascading production engine building. Right. And it just is, it's like, even talking about it, like, the game blows my mind. And we're about to hit, hopefully, let's see what we're doing here. We have
big 48-hour mark. This is really exciting, chat crew.
We have about less than $4,000 to go until we reach the solo co-op, which is very exciting. And to me, the reason this is so exciting is because since it was introduced to us like 2 weeks ago, I haven't wanted to play anything else.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like that good. It's that good. The base game itself is amazing, the competitive game, but the solo is just, I mean, it's amazing. It's very exciting.
Are you normally a solo gamer, co-op gamer?
No. Ooh, not at all, actually. If you ask anybody I know, they will tell you that I do not like playing co-op games, and I definitely don't play solo games. And so the fact that I've been so engrossed in this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, Steve's posted up the Kickstarter link for anybody that's watching it live right here. Last 48 hours, very, very exciting. Hey, we got a bunch of solo gamers that watch the show. Jeremy the Ninja, he's one of those guys. He loves the solo games. And you're telling me this is a game that you're not even really that big of a solo co-op, and now you're playing it all the time.
Absolutely.
That's got me intrigued.
Yes.
That has got me intrigued. But what really caught my eye is something that Steve and I talk about offline all the time. We can't figure out why, but we both are in love with Kwanchai Moriya's art. Every game that I have by him, I just love what he does. I can't even explain what the art style is. It's all these geometric shapes combined with futuristic color schemes, really, really out there. Maybe Dinosaur Island, not my favorite. Maybe not that one. But everything else that he's done, I just absolutely love. Capital Lux and Cryptid and now in the Hall of the Mountain King. Steve and I want to know, was he part of the project from the start with Jay and them, or did you guys bring him along?
So he wasn't.
He's a busy man.
He is so busy, and we actually, well, there's a little bit of a story to that as well. So when we signed the game, there was no art, and I asked the guys who they would be interested in. They he said, here are some people. I'm like, you know what? I need to have Kwanchai on this. I have wanted to work with him for so long. And
Oh.
Josh, who does the graphic design for our games and does the art direction, has worked with him before, and they get along very well. They do a lot of great work together. So I said, Kwanchai, it was around Gen Con. Please meet us. Let's have a conversation. I know you're busy, and I know the next few months are like off limits for you, but please just talk to us. So we sat down, and 3 seconds in, Josh said, so the game is about trolls. And right after he said that, he's like, I'm in.
What?
And that was it. Yeah, that was it. He's like, I've always wanted to do a game with trolls in it. I'm excited to do this. And so we had to wait a couple of months for him because he is so busy, but he fit us in. And my goodness, he just, talk about striking game art and box covers. Like this so far for me is my favorite Kwanchai art.
Ooh, wow. That's a bold statement, but I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having Kwanchai on a project like this brings some eyeballs, number one, but number two, it usually just by looking at his art, it almost creates the word for you. And here's what I think is so cool about bringing Kwanchai in. When it's some of the interviews that I've heard from him, and by the way, please ask Kwanchai to come on the show. One of these days, I'd love to have Kwanchai on the show. He is, if you haven't heard him on a podcast, he is a fantastic guest. He does not pull punches, and I love that about him. But what's cool about Kwanchai is he looks at art from a different view than most other people. I can't really explain it. It's just he has this kind of strange take on the way things should look. And so it doesn't surprise me that a game that kind of flips the flips the fantasy element on its head. You're the trolls rather than some hero going in to bash the trolls. That's what Kwanchai would be looking for. The ability to take a different perspective and bring it out in a game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The most amazing thing to me with the art has been to watch how Josh has described what he wants to see in the piece of art. And so, I'm thinking about what I imagine it to look like. And then Kwanchai comes out with it. I'm like, oh my God, that's the way it's supposed to look. It's amazing.
Marshall says Kwanchai has a great eye for color. He's right. That is one of his gifts. And I also really like both the cartoony style he does, true, and his more realistic style, a la Capital Lux. Yeah. Hey, we sold one. Adam says sold.
Yay!
Hey, way to go. Thank you, Adam. I'll be seeing Adam on Wednesday. So Steven says, love trolls. They're some of the best characters in my favorite fantasy series, Discworld, one of Terry Pratchett series that Steve always loves talking about. Kwanchai was the big key, but you still have to have the gameplay. What attracted you so much to In the Hall of the Mountain King from a gameplay perspective, Helaina?
I think it was like going back to it. It was that the engine building. The designers had this idea. I don't know if you know this, but In the Hall of the Mountain King is a classical song.
The song, right? Yeah.
The song, and the crescendo of that song comes at the end. Yeah, exactly. It's slow. It's really slow to start. There are few instruments. It's nice and relaxing, and by the end of it, the song is huge and so many instruments, and it's really amazing to listen to the song build. And so the designers had the idea that they wanted to create a game that did the same. So when I talk about cascading production, what I mean is you start off with 4 trolls, and your trolls come with resources, and the resources help you build halls throughout the mountain. You're digging these halls to get unearthed statues and bring them as close to the heart of the mountain as possible through your network of halls. And so like I said, each troll comes with resources. So you start with 4, and as you go through the game, you're going to hire more trolls, and you're going to build. It's hard to see. You can sort of see it in the picture that you have up there. You're building a pyramid. Although your pyramid starts with 4, you're building a pyramid of trolls. So every time you hire a new one, you'll put it on top of 2 beneath it. So if you look at the bottom row in that picture, you see the row above it has one that sort of sits on top of two of
Right.
them. And you're building more and more. So as you use the resources, you'll hire new trolls, you'll place them down in this pyramid that you're creating, and you'll gain the resources for that troll and also the trolls beneath it whose resources have been depleted.
So that's the cascade. It's coming down,
That's the
right?
cascade. So it's coming down. So when you hire a new troll, you would want to be placing it over trolls that have resources that have been depleted, so you can make the most out of the resources that you have there. And the way it works is by the end of the game, you build your last troll. If you're the first person to build your last troll at the top of your pyramid, you gain extra points for being the first person. And then there are 2 more rounds after that, after the second person has placed the last one. So even though it is marking the end of the game, you still have 2 rounds to spend all of your resources on building these halls and unearthing the statues and moving them throughout your network of halls.
Ooh, you know what I like about that? Some games you build up that engine and you never get to really kick it into high gear.
Yeah.
This sounds like you not only build the engine, you get to run it for a little while.
That's right. Originally, when we first were working on the game, it ended after one person had built their last troll, and then we finished the round. And we felt like we had all this build up, and then it just ended. And doing 2 more rounds after the second person had built their last troll or bought their last troll or paid for their last troll, what am I talking about? That worked out really well, where most players get to spend their resources.
People don't want to just see Evel Knievel build the motorbike and get up close to the ravine. They want to actually see him jump. And this way you get to jump the ravine, you build that engine and you close it out. It is different from what I was thinking, though. When I heard cascading, when I saw it on Kickstarter, and I've heard it in some of the interviews you've done, I was thinking more of if you've played the game Quebec. Not a lot of people have. It's a really cool game, but the cascading mechanic there is just the different scoring areas. As they send some of your meeples over to the different scoring areas, they cascade. So you start out strong in one, and your meeples keep going around, so you're becoming strong in each one. But I like this way. This is a cascade only on your part of the table. Right. Is that right?
That's right.
Oh, I like that idea. Well, there's like you said, a lot of familiar mechanics, but Jay has taken the mechanisms that people are familiar with and kind of twisted them a little bit.
Jay and Graham.
I don't know Graham. Has he designed anything before? I don't recognize it.
Yes, the last game that he had that came out was published by Hoch and Friends, called Damn It.
Hoch and Friends.
It's a nice family game. We play it often. My kids like it.
I like Hoch and Friends. That's one of my favorite publishers.
Yeah,
they publish. They're not superstar games. They're all solid, fun games. You know, I mean, they all explore whatever they're doing as a, you know, just I think the world of them. I always keep an eye on them when I go to conventions because they have a lot of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, thanks. Evel Knievel reference. The night is complete. Yeah, thank you, Steve. Steve and I share some of the same pop sensibilities. All right, in the Hall of the Mountain King. Tell people a little bit about the Kickstarter. It's 48 hours left. What are we looking at in this 48-hour stretch?
So we've got about 47 hours now. We have 2,753 backers. We're 591% funded. And this is Canadian money, so basically it's $3 US. But we have $236,504. And
I was doing the math in my head. I was like, I don't think that's right, but she's doing a bit. That's good.
It's not right, but us Canadians like to joke about the fact that our money is worthless compared to the US dollar. Anyway.
How many loonies is it going to cost me to buy this game? That's the real question.
The game is $89 Canadian for the deluxe, and it is $64 for the retail game. We've hit 15 stretch goals already, which is amazing.
Wow.
And now we're working on our 16th stretch goal, which I mentioned before is the solo co-op mode. And we're like $3,500 away from that. And, you know, the 48-hour notice just went out. So I have no doubt that we're going to hit that stretch goal. And we've got 2, maybe 4, if Josh can convince me, 4 more stretch goals left. I want to have 2 more. He is trying to convince me that we've got 4 left in us. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
How many players does it play?
Right now it plays 1 to 5. And it's a double-sided board, which is also really nice. So there's some territory denial in it. So area control, and because of that, we're trying to make the games that have a lower player count interact a little bit more. So the one side is for 2 to 3. You could even get 4 players into it, and the other side is 4 to 5 players.
And you know, once people know the game, how long do you think a 3 or 4 player game is going to take?
90 minutes. Shouldn't take longer than that. We've played the game with 4 players in 60 minutes, but we know the game really well, and we have an idea of what we want to do, and it's really nice. There's a lot of replayability because different trolls come out every time. There are some spells that you can use. Different spells come out every time, and it's. I would say the typical time is about 90 minutes.
Man, if 4 people that know it can get it into that 1 hour, I love what Chris Kirkman calls the 1 hour wonder. That's my favorite kind of game, where you can get a big game still in 60 minutes, maybe even play it 2 or 3 times in a night. Absolutely. That's my favorite thing. We played Scythe 3 times back to back to back. I can't believe we've circled back to Scythe again, but you know, we get a new gamer in the group and he gets excited about playing a game. So we played it 3 times all night. The last one was about just under an hour, 52 minutes, I think it was.
Wow.
So I love games that if we play in the Hall of the Mountain King and we can get it down to an hour, that is perfect. Hey, Steve, I had a question for you. Interesting color choices for the markers. Colorblind friendly?
Yes, absolutely. That is, for me and my 2 brands, I want accessibility as much as possible. And I know that there are a lot of people in the community that have colorblind issues, and I want to make sure that they can see our game and that they're comfortable with it. The first thing we do when we look at colors is look at it through a filter. Josh uses a filter to see what the colors will look like, to make sure that they look different enough. In most of our games, we'll also include a pattern on something, so that even if the colors are a little bit closer than is comfortable for someone who has colorblind issues, that pattern is helpful as well. A game that we are, I guess, releasing pretty soon as well for kids table called Bugs on Rugs. The rugs have different color carpets, or the cards have different color rugs, but we've put a pattern in there so that you can see the differences between them as well. So
it's something to think about, and it's hard in some cases, but in some cases it's pretty simple. Patterns, you know, different ways of looking, shapes they can all make the difference for so many people. I just don't know any game groups nowadays, no matter where you go, whatever convention you have, every game group has somebody that has some kind of colorblind problem. And you know, I hate that there's a couple of games like Yamatai is a game that we really can't play with a certain guy at the at the table, because to him it's just one big wash of brown, you know.
I don't like even really understand why it's so hard for people to get their head around that, because to me it's so easy. You just choose different colors, like anyway. Yeah,
it shouldn't be. So that is in the Hall of the Mountain King. We got about 47 hours left, 2 maybe 4 stretch goals to break down for people like